Hey guys, what's up? I'm Lynn and welcome back to my library. So today I decided I was going to do my January wrap-up. This is my first wrap-up on this channel and I'm a little bit nervous about it because I'm horrible at explaining things and remembering things. So let's see if I can remember what these books are about. I actually had a really good reading month. Sometimes I go in spurts, like I'll read maybe 2 books, but this month I read 7, which I'm really happy with. And the first book that I read, I started it in December, but I finished it in January, and that's Hogfather by Terry Pratchett. Now this was my first Discworld book, so I wasn't really sure how to rate it because I hadn't read any Discworld before and I'm not really sure how the magic system works and everything like that, but Hogfather is about Father Christmas, who is called the Hogfather in this book, is missing and death has taken over his duties for Hogswatch, which is like Christmas for us. And I really liked it. I thought it was so funny. It reminded me a lot of like a Roald Dahl book where it was just silly and lighthearted. Like I said before, I'm not really sure how the magic system works and I don't know all the characters, so I was a little bit confused. And for that, I gave it 3 stars, but it's not the book's fault. It's my fault because I probably should have read more Discworld before I started with this one. I'm not sure where to start, so if anybody knows, hit me up in the comments. The next book I read was so adorable. My husband got it for me for Christmas, and it's Lil Bub's little book, The Extraordinary Life of the Most Amazing Cat on the Planet. I love Lil Bub. She's my girl. I follow her on all social media. She is just, the cutest cat in the whole world besides mine. And Lil Bub suffers from a multitude of birth defects. She was the runt of her litter, and she has feline dwarfism. She doesn't have any teeth. Her jaw is underdeveloped, so her tongue sticks out all the time. But she's just a happy, happy cat, and she's living her best life. If I could have a life like Lil Bub's, I'd be so freaking happy. She's just so sweet, and she and her owner, or her human, excuse me, are advocates for rescues and adopting from shelters and taking care of special needs cats, because it's not always as hard as you might think it is. It might be difficult at first to get used to, but it becomes second nature, and you're giving that cat a life that they wouldn't have had otherwise, because they most likely, if they were in a shelter, would have been put down. Now, let me tell you, this is a very simple book. There's probably only like 1 sentence on each page, and most of it is pictures of Lil Bub doing her little things. And my husband, Mark, doesn't think that I should count this as a book that I read. But it's a book, and I read it. I don't care if there was 1 sentence on a page and mostly just pictures. I still read it. There was still a story. So I think he's full of crap, and I'm counting it. So that was book number 2, and I gave it 5 stars. The next book I read was The Impossible Fortress, which is by Jason Rekulak. I hope I said that right, I'm not sure. This is set in the 80s, and it's at a time when the Playboy magazine came out with Vanna White on the cover. And it follows Billy and his friends, and they're dreaming up schemes to find a way to get a hold of this magazine because they're underage, they're 14 or 15. So they're trying to find ways to get their hands on this magazine. And Billy's also very computer savvy, which, I mean, it was in the 80s, so there weren't a lot of computers, personal computers that people owned. A lot of people still didn't really understand computers, how they worked. And Billy's a gamer. He creates his own games and he enters a competition for best video game. And that's all I'm going to say from there. It's about Billy. It's a coming of age story. I gave this one 4 stars. It was really fun. It gave me a lot of nostalgia because I grew up in the 80s partly. I was an 80s child and a 90s teenager. So it gave me a lot of nostalgia because I remembered a lot of the things that they mentioned in this book. So yeah, 4 stars. Book number 4, Vengeance Road by Aaron Bowman. Can we just take a minute to look at how beautiful this cover is? It's so gorgeous. I love the skulls and the guns and oh my God, beautiful. This is a Western YA and it follows Kate, who's avenging the death of her father. That's not a spoiler. It happens in the first couple of pages of the book. He was murdered by a gang. And so Kate sets out to avenge his death. She meets up with 2 guys along the way and things happen from there. I don't want to go too much into it because spoilers, obviously. So this was just a really fun book to read. I loved how Kate was driven to avenge her dad's death. And, you know, it was very nice to see that I mean, there is a romance in here, but it doesn't happen overnight. She doesn't trust many people, so she has to build her trust with these people that she meets, and I really found that refreshing because it wasn't like there was insta-love, which I can't stand. And again, I gave this one 4 stars. I'm telling you, I knocked it out of the park this month with books. I picked amazing books. And actually, this one, I'm doing a version of Shelf Slam, which Elena's doing from Elena Reads Books. And I picked this one out of a jar. I picked Read the Book with the Prettiest Cover, and I couldn't decide between them, so my husband actually picked this one out, so he did a good job. Thanks, Mark. I gotta get some water. Second to last book, I Let You Go by Claire McIntosh. This is a thriller, psychological, crimey thriller. It's about a little boy who, not a spoiler, it happens in the first couple of pages. He runs out into the street and he gets hit by a car in front of his mother and he dies. So it follows the journey of a woman trying to escape her past and to grieve the death of her son. So she leaves Bristol, England, and goes to Wales, a small little seaside village, to try to come to terms with the death of her son. It also follows the detectives who are investigating the crime because what happened when the little boy was hit was the car left the scene. So they're trying to find out who hit this little boy and bring his killer to justice. I gave this book 4 stars. The one thing I didn't like was kind of like the romantic tension between the detectives because they each had separate relationships on their own. So I didn't feel like it was necessary to throw a romantic type of tension in there. But I gave this one 4 stars because I didn't see the twists that came. Part of it I guessed at the end, and I was partially right, but there was more to it than what I guessed, and I was actually really surprised. So I really, really liked this one, and I read it because Simon and Pip are reading it for their Crime Time with Simon and Pip. That's over on Savage Reads channel. And I wanted to join in the fun this month. So I'm glad I did because I really liked it. And I want to read some more Claire McIntosh because this book was awesome. I loved it. 4 stars. The last book that I read this month was Red Clocks by Lynnie Zumas. I really liked this book. It gave me feelings of dread. It's about our country set kind of like around this time or a little bit in the future, and abortion is banned. Roe versus Wade is overturned, and they have passed what's called the Personhood Amendment Act, which grants rights to fetuses. I don't want to make waves here, but a fetus can't think for itself, and I'm pro-choice, and it scares me to think that something like this could happen because of these fanatical, overly religious politicians that want to force their beliefs on people and tell women what they can and can't do with their bodies. So this book, it really made me think. And another thing in this book too is that if a woman gets pregnant and has an abortion and is caught, they're convicted as murderers and are sent to prison or put to death. It's not like you could go to another country, because Canada has kind of like allied with the US, and they're upholding the US laws, so they have what's called the pink wall, which, I mean, the border patrol is, I've never been to Canada, so I don't know what border patrol is like now, but it's pretty heavy in this book, and you need to show ID, you need proof of why you're going there, and if you're found out at the border that the real reason for your trip to Canada is to abort your baby or your fetus, whatever you want to call it, you're sent back. You're sent back home and arrested and put in jail. So the book follows, you know, the synopsis says it follows 5 women. I thought it only followed 4, unless they're counting the woman that is being written about by one of the characters called the biographer. She's the woman that she's writing about was a polar explorer, and it was so long ago, but I don't know if she's the 5th person that is one of the characters in this book. I don't know. But the 4 main characters are Roberta, aka Ro, Susan, Maddie, and Jen. Now, Ro is referred to in her chapters as the biographer. She's only mentioned by name by people that are speaking to her. And this is true of all the characters, when their chapters are up, they're only referred to by their profession or their title in life. Maddie is known as the daughter. She was adopted as a child and she becomes pregnant. Not a spoiler, I don't think. Not a spoiler, yay. I didn't ruin it. And it follows her story from there. Then Susan is known as the wife. She's married to one of Roberta's colleagues. Roberta is not only a biographer, but she's also a teacher at the local high school. So Susan is the wife of one of Roberta's co-workers at the school. And then Jen is known as the mender. She lives in the woods and she is very knowledgeable about herbs, and people go to her for medical treatment. She lives off the land and she creates concoctions out of herbs and vegetation that's found in the forest that she lives in. And the people in the town call her the witch. I gave this book 4 stars because it really made me think, it made me uneasy. It's potentially something that could happen in the US, considering our political climate right now, you know, with the radical Christian politicians who, you know, want to tell women what they can and can't do with their uterus. I liked how it was thought-provoking and sort of realistic. I mean, I guess it was realistic if you think about what would happen if Roe versus Wade was overturned. I really, really liked it. And I found that once I got into the writing style, because I wasn't used to reading about characters that were referred to by their profession or their title, I found that once I got used to that, I couldn't put this down. So, 4 stars. That was everything I read in January, and I'm really proud of myself. I didn't think I was going to read that much. I actually didn't even realize I had read that many books until I looked back, and I surprised myself. Well done, me. Anyway, what did you guys read in January? I want to talk about it. If anybody has read any of these books that I mentioned, hit me up in the comments. I want to chat. Let's hear all about it, what you thought, if you liked it, if you didn't like it. How was your reading month? Was it as good as mine? I'm actually kind of nervous for February because I read so many great books in January. I'm afraid I'm going to get a dud. But I guess we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to go for now. I want to go sit with my cat and just hang out and get all snuggly and warm because it's friggin' cold outside. Anyway, I hope you had a great reading month, and I will talk to you guys later.